Hello, Reliquarians, and welcome back to the Guitar Reliquary. Today, I'm bringing you another guitar I picked up on vacation for a really phenomenal price, which is the Fender Eric Johnson Thinline Stratocaster. You've heard before in videos on the channel that I am an Eric Johnson fan. I am such an Eric Johnson fan that Manhattan is one of my top 5 songs of all time. I just love his fluid playing style and the tone that he gets out of his guitars, whether it's a Stratocaster or a Gibson. Obviously, if you've been following the channel, you know that I don't play really anything like Eric Johnson, but I do very much like his tone and his guitars. A few years ago, oh boy, no, like 10 or 12 years ago, I had a Lucerne Aqua Fire Mist Eric Johnson with a rosewood fretboard, and I really regretted getting rid of that one, but I couldn't deal with the butt adjust truss rod. So I've always kept my eye out for a good deal on one, thinking I'd get one, and then just, if I get it for a good enough price, I could just make do with it. And so I did. And this is a 2020 Eric Johnson Thinline Stratocaster, so it's been in the shop for 3 years. And it's really in amazing condition. There's no real shopware to speak of. The only thing that it did have that I've since cleaned up is some black marks on either side of the neck where it had been hanging on the wall for so long untouched. So let's go through some of the features of this and then get to the demo. So it is a Stratocaster, obviously, but what makes it a Thinline is that it has the F-hole, and they call this a chambered body, but given how much wood has been taken out on this side and then also over here, because it did take the pickguard off, I really think it's closer to a semi-hollow. I mean, there's a lot of wood missing from this body. Speaking of the body, it is a 2-piece alder body, so there is a seam down the center of the body. It's a really gorgeous piece of alder, and it's finished in this nice vintage sunburst color. This is really the color to have if you have any love for vintage guitars or vintage guitar colors, because this is one of the first colors that Fender used. This 2-piece alder body is joined to a fat maple neck. So this maple neck is one piece. There's no seam in it, though of course it does have the rosewood stripe down the back for installation of the truss rod, and has the maple fretboard. So maple neck, alder body, that's pretty classic Stratocaster stuff. Some things that are different about the Eric Johnson Strat compared to, say, a Fender American Professional. So the American Professional is the new American Standard line. They rebranded it, 10 years ago. It was a terrible rebranding, in my opinion, but because the Standard was so, interwoven with rock and roll and other styles of music that use the Stratocaster a lot. But anyways, the American Professional series does not have a nitrocellulose lacquer, but the Eric Johnson guitars are finished in nitrocellulose. They're one of the few guitars before the introduction of the reintroduction of the American vintage guitars that came out last year or so. Maybe it was a couple years ago. This was one of the few ones you could get with a nitrocellulose finish. So nitro finished body, nitro finished neck and fretboard. So that's something that's a little bit different. Features that are kind of the same as the normal Fender bridge. It's a 6-screw mounted as opposed to the 2-screw mounted on the Mexican Player Series guitars and on some of the American guitars. Has the bent steel saddles, which are actually not as sort of hand rending as some of the other Fenders that I've owned. Has a 1-ply parchment pick guard. Says it's parchment. Looks white to me, but whatever. 1-ply. Has the 3 single coils, the Eric Johnson set from Fender, not the Eric Johnson sets that have come out from other manufacturers. I think DiMarzio is making Eric Johnson pickups right now. Could be wrong about that, but these are the Fender ones. And of course, it has the 5-way switch. The 5-way switch is, of course, position 5, the neck, 4, the coveted neck and middle, 3, the middle, 2, the middle and bridge, and 1, the bridge on its own. It has a singular volume knob and then 2 tones. I believe the tones control, this one controls the neck and middle, this one controls the bridge, which is not traditional 50s wiring where you would not have a bridge tone control. For the neck, it has the truss rod adjustment at the butt, and I actually took the pick guard off, as I said before, and you have to take the neck off to truss it. There is no little channel there or anything. If you want to truss it, you've got to take the neck off, which shouldn't be such a big deal because the thickness of the maple and the relative stability of Fender guitars should mean that the neck doesn't need a lot of tweaking throughout the year. So I set it to be almost dead flat, knowing that it will get progressively drier in the Northeast of the United States and that it will cause these to bow, and therefore I'll have to do some truss rod adjustment later on, but hopefully it won't bow so much that I need to take the neck off. On the neck, it has the 21 medium jumbo frets. The frets are covered with lacquer. They don't take the lacquer off the frets. So that's one thing that I'm not crazy about. But if I play it enough, I'll wear through it quickly enough. And that's one thing I'm looking forward to, is actually wearing through the lacquer on the frets. So hopefully that won't take me too long. Has a bone nut, has no string tree, because the headstock is actually thinner than the normal headstock on a Fender guitar, and it has the staggered posts, so they have 2 that are tall, 2 that are medium, and then 2 that are short, so that it helps to compensate for the lack of a string tree. And then it has the vintage style Fender tuners on it. And these tuners I like because you insert the string into the hole in the center, and then as you wind it, it winds around and it basically locks it. I mean, they're not locking tuners per se, but they're more of a locking design than a traditional one where you just feed the string through and tighten it. Let's see. Beyond that, all the normal Strat specs, 25.5-inch scale length. It does have a 12-inch fretboard radius, so it's a little flatter than most of the Fender radii. Some are 9.5, which are more modern, and then of course the vintage ones are 7.25-inch radius, so they're really curved. I like a flatter radius. I've talked before on the channel about my love of the 12-inch radius, so I'm right at home on this. So the big draw for this, for me, was the Eric Johnson pickups, and then the fact that it's a Thinline, because I don't have a Thinline Stratocaster. Actually wasn't planning on buying another Stratocaster. It's just the deal was so good that I couldn't pass it up. And if I need to get rid of it, I'm sure that I can at least get my money out of it, and that's always a good thing for a guitar. But for me, it was the Eric Johnson pickups and the Thinline. And it has a really different tone than other Stratocasters. It really has a smoother, warmer tone, especially on the neck pickup. So the neck pickup is on a Fender, and the type that I prefer is sort of the glassy clean that you can get. But on this, it never gets quite to that glassy level. It seems so smooth. And so it's really a unique and different sound that you get out of this Thinline. And I saw that Fender has introduced recently the Suona limited edition Thinline Stratocaster, and it looks similar in terms of it's a burst and has the F holes and whatnot. And it might be worth checking one of those out if you're looking for a Thinline Strat. Though I did notice that Guitar Center has several of these priced very competitively. Before they were discontinued, I think they had hit the $2,300 or $2,400 mark. And Guitar Center has some used in excellent condition for, I want to say like $15.99 or $16.99. So these can be picked up for a great price and provide a lot of value to you. And since it's nitro, the wood really breathes and it will age with you. So let's head over to the demo, check out some of the tones, see what it sounds like. I played on a low gain setting. I tried very hard to get an Eric Johnson-like tone and then gave up because I was just not having any success. And so instead I just found a tone that I liked and I used that. I went through all the positions of the pickups in the lead track, and then one of the rhythm tracks was the neck pickup and the other was position 4. So you've got a little bit of a mix there. All right, I hope you enjoyed the demo of the guitar. Leave a comment, let me know what you think about the sounds that I'm getting out of it. And if you enjoy my content, please like and subscribe. Otherwise, I'll see you next time.